If your North Star objective is money, you make less of it because you become obsessed with the end goal and you forget all of the important work that needs to happen in the meantime. Now, folks, with the advent, the onslaught of AI tools, have the ability to send really, really, really bad sales messaging at a scale we have never seen before. I suggest that folks do a pivot. And it's that you stop thinking of your ICP as one thing. And you start thinking about different ICP segments.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, let's get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm going to be your host as usual. And in our studio, we have Leslie Venetz. How are you today?
I am jazzed to be here, Rick. That's how I am.
I love that. That's like so much energy. It's just like I need some of that energy today. You know, like you said earlier, it's hot.
It's hot. It's a hot one. That's okay. We're going to bring the heat to this podcast today. We're going to take inspiration.
That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. Folks, if you didn't catch the message, I would love it if you'd like and subscribe, hit the bell so you get an update every time we drop a new episode. And from that point, let's get it started. So Leslie, would you mind sharing with our audience who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do?
Yeah, what the heck is it that I do here? I am a full-time founder. I have my own company called the Sales-Led GTM Agency, and we help B2B SaaS and services orgs in like the 30 to 50 million annual revenue get their outbound processes locked in. So we do like strategy, repeatable processes to support that, and then skill set mindset work so that folks can execute on all of it. But prior to that, I spent over 15 years in just a variety of different sales roles, from like huge corporate enterprise selling to employee number one at a bootstrapped startup, carried the bag, did the player coach role for second, third line leadership. So I've kind of like done it all, sold it all. And now I get the insane privilege of sharing that knowledge with the folks that hire me.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. What was your favorite job? Besides your current one, of course.
I know, I'm like the best boss I've ever had, Rick.
I bet.
My favorite job. Ooh, that's really hard. Because like for all of them, there have been, I mean, like sales is really tough, right? So for all of them, there have been just like these like gut-wrenching moments, but then there have been opportunities of extraordinary growth or just these crazy memories. You know what? I would have to say my favorite job is my first job out of college, because in that job, I met my husband, one of the ushers at our wedding, and one of my bridesmaids.
That's
so
convenient.
I got two like lifelong best friends, as well as my husband, who's obviously a lifelong best friend. So the job itself was like, meh, but the people were 13 out of 10, keeping them forever.
Cool, I got you. Wow, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was gonna be like this great boss, had mentorship and just gave you all the tools that you needed in your life. But no, you just got some friends. That's beautiful. Cool.
I feel like my other favorite jobs were like not sales jobs, though. They were like working at like the ice cream dairy bar and at the farm during a summer, just like, I mean, those technically were sales jobs. I was slinging that ice cream for 4-H, but
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, you got to start somewhere. What do you love about sales?
What I love about sales, so many things. I think I love making money. And so many people are like ashamed to say that they like care about making money, or one of the reasons that they're in sales is because they like earning, they like control over their finances. I love that. I love a job where I actually feel like my hard work is rewarded. I'm not just like grinding for the sake of grinding. I'm grinding because it directly impacts my paycheck at the end of the month, quarter, year. I love sales because it is a profession that is most deeply rooted in helping people. So like the paychecks come because I get to show up every single day with a goal of figuring out how I can share knowledge, how I can set somebody up to win, how I can, introduce them to the person that's going to unlock their greatness. And that is such an extraordinarily wonderful gift to have a profession where the most important thing I do every single day is figuring out how I can help people.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. I want to go back to you said you love making money. So I guess my question for you, I think if I was heavily into sales, I would be like that super competitive guy. How much can I sell? Blah, and that would be what drives. That's the money I would like to make. Is that what you're thinking, or is it more the personal income, or both?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And I feel like it's really nuanced. Here's what I found. If your North Star objective is money, you make less of it because you become obsessed with the end goal
Hmm.
and you forget all of the important work that needs to happen in the
Hmm.
meantime. And so I think like if people become too obsessed with money, they maybe fall into habits that are like those gross sales habits that people hate, like being sort of manipulative or feeling like they'll do anything to close a sale. And while that might work for a couple of deals, it stops working, right? Because you tarnish your reputation, you get fired, nobody wants to hire you. And so interestingly, it's like you can't be too obsessed with like the money. You
Yeah.
have to be obsessed on the small milestones of like helping the people, and then you help the people and they buy from you and they refer other people to you, and then the money comes. But I'm also a super competitive person. Like you can't see it, but I have like a whiteboard over here and
Hmm.
I literally have a thermometer. Like they would have like a charity auction where it's like, have we hit our fundraising goal? So even though like I'm my own boss, I set my own quotas. I still, every time I close a deal, go like color in a little bit more of my thermometer, right? So like, I think there is something to being like equal parts intrinsically and extrinsically motivated in sales where like, yeah, I am motivated by the level of freedom that I can afford myself because of the income I make. But
Hmm.
all of that would be really meaningless if I was doing a job that I hated.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. I've heard people talk about having your North Star in the right place. I mean, I hear the same thing over and over again. I think you're absolutely right. But that underbelly of sales, get these telemarketers. I had a call yesterday. I'm ex-military, and I had a call yesterday, and so the salesperson wanted to relate to me. So he's telling me he was an ex-sergeant major, and this and that, and this and that. Has a deep, Southern accent, and it was so funny. And he's talking as we're going through the conversation. He starts getting upset with me, because I'm really, I'm not, I'm not going according to the script. All of a sudden, his accent disappears. It's just, dude.
Wait, what? It was fake?
His accent disappeared. He suddenly had this northern accent. I'm just like, I know you, dude.
Wait, was he doing like a whole stolen valor thing just to try to close a
Yeah,
deal?
yeah,
Rick, you
absolutely.
should report him. That's a really big deal.
Is that a
Literally, you
thing?
should report him. Yeah, that's a
Wow,
very big deal.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yes. Yes. You should call his company and you should make sure that they know that that's how he's behaving.
I
He's a
may do that.
blight. He's a blight on the profession.
Absolutely, absolutely. We need more salespeople like you.
I
What made
think,
you?
but that's the funny thing, right? Is that like there are so many salespeople like me, but like all things, it's easier to remember like the bad than the good. That's true for me too, right? Like when I recall sales interactions that I've had, it's much easier to recall sales situations where I'm like, oh my God, and then they did this, and then their email was this, and it was so trash versus all of the good stuff I see. But I also think that a lot of good salespeople work
Hmm.
in bad environments and are put in a position where they're like, ooh, do I do something that doesn't feel super aligned with my values? Like, do I do something that makes me feel a little bit icky? But I
Mm,
know that if I don't like follow this script or if I don't close this deal, I'm gonna get fired because I work in an environment with zero psychological safety.
yeah.
And it's like, where, I get it. I don't like it. I don't approve of it. I don't condone it. But
Hmm.
I know so many salespeople that are still out there, like living paycheck to paycheck. And if the choice is never the example that you just shared, that's absolute nonsense. But if the choice is like, hey, I'm going to use some like fake urgency to get this person to like buy now instead of giving them time to think about it, even though I know they might have buyer's remorse. But if I don't do that, I'm going
Mm,
to get fired, and then I'm going to like not be able to make my car payment.
mm,
Like that's a
yeah.
tough situation, and it's unfortunately still a lot more common in sales environments than I think people would like to admit.
That's tough.
Just
That's a
making
different
it so
perspective.
heavy.
I'm sorry. Let's move on to a more fun topic. Well, here's a question for you. What is the most important thing you want people to get out of this episode?
Buy my book.
Buy your book. Well, we have to talk about your book. Let's talk about your book. Let's dive into it. What's your book about?
You know what you expected me to say, like something like rainbows and sunshine. No, people, please go buy my book. It is the key to helping you generate a profitable pipeline. It's good. I was saying like I shipped my last edits. So I'm just
Oh
have this
wow.
like I know it's like a fever dream of all these like many, many printed versions and all of them. But it's like, it's fully shipped. Like it's going to start printing. I mean, when will this episode drop?
Uh,
I think you said like August, the 29th. Yeah,
July.
like right before. Yeah. So the book drops on August 5th, but I will get like just like a pre-order one where I will get the physical copy and I can like send them to some people that are doing endorsements and stuff. So in like 2 weeks, I will have like a physical copy of my book with my name on it in my hands.
You need to send me a picture. We'll put it on your right on your
I will. I absolutely will. Yeah. But in all seriousness, what I hope people get out of this episode is some tips, some knowledge on how they can build a profit generating pipeline, like how they can sprint towards winning, that relentless pursuit of winning, without having to do things that piss off their customers, that make them feel icky, that make them question whether or not the way that they're interacting and approaching those conversations and those relationships is like inherently good. So in all seriousness, that's what I hope people get out of this episode, but also buy my book.
All right, let's dig into sales. What is the biggest mistake you see people making?
The list is long. I would say right now, oh man, that's such a hard question. Okay, I have to say a couple of things.
Okay.
One, I think in general, people, not just salespeople, but it's especially problematic with salespeople, are not good listeners, or they're not as good at listening as they think they are. And that creates a huge gap because our buyers, our customers then don't feel seen and heard, because salespeople are too often listening with the intent of responding instead of listening with the intent of understanding. So I think that's a huge gap, because if you aren't showing up and really like flexing those muscles and leaning in to actively listen, it's going to be extremely hard to do a needs analysis and like really uncover pain points and really make sure that what you are recommending, that product or that solution, is the appropriate one to solve the prospects, the customer's needs. So I think that's a big one. I think a big one also is messaging. Like, I feel like every single person that's being sold anything probably feels the pain of how bad sales messaging is right now. I, I would say like the messaging is bad because it's all like, I'm Leslie, I'm your sales rep, our company, our product, our feature. Like, it is just extraordinarily product centric when it
Hmm.
needs to be problem centric. Like, you need to say something that the person actually cares about.
Yeah.
And I think that whole gap of like, what have I done to earn the right to even ask for this person's like time and attention to read my email, let alone like reply to it? I think that's sort of missing, like that litmus test is missing. But now folks, with the advent, the onslaught of AI tools, have the ability to send really, really, really bad sales messaging at a scale we have never seen before. So those are sort of like two disparate answers. Like, there's a big gap in sales messaging, and now we're sending bad sales messaging at scale. And then when we do finally get to talk to people, I don't believe that we're doing a good enough job paying attention to them. What do you
So I mean,
think?
it sounds like sales is just, and I'm not saying this about the profession, but generally it sounds like the quality of the sales experience is decreasing. It- between the two ends of things. I want to sell my stuff, but I'm not listening to my customer. I'm just trying to sell my stuff, and then I'm sending out bad messaging on top of that. So, I mean, it sounds like people just aren't winning in sales anymore. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Yes, 100%. I very tongue in cheek was like, "Buy my book, huh?" But like that is most sales messaging is just like, "Buy my thing, buy my thing." Like
Yeah.
I often say, like one of the things that I try to teach my clients is how to talk with their prospects instead of talk at them. And like most of what we see is talk at them, but that made me think of two different stats, Rick. One is that win rates, meaning like opportunities that are actually open where somebody says, "Yes, I'm interested in having a conversation to see if I would like to purchase from you," are at an all-time low. They're at like 28% right now.
Yeah.
And of those people that don't buy, most of them are not like they're not buying from just not you or somebody else, like they're not buying at all. They have been so dissatisfied with the sales process that they're just like choosing to stick with the status quo, solve it internally, etc. And there's
Yes.
another piece of data that came out from Gartner. It's maybe like a year old now, but it was something along the lines of like 70% of buyers, B2B buyers, would prefer a sales rep free experience.
Interesting.
Right, but, like, those things are definitely related. Like, win
Yeah.
rates are at an all-time low, which means we are steady wasting people's time. So
Yeah.
no wonder they don't wanna have these sales conversations with us where we aren't listening to them. We are product-centric in our focus, and then they ultimately, after they spent all this time with us, decide not to do anything because what alternatives we offered to them didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. That's kind of discouraging to be honest with you. And I guess we throw in there, the amount of data that's available and the automations that are available, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, people are just getting more and more information, just become almost immune to it. So
Yeah.
so what are people doing? How are people getting around, these?
I think a couple of ways. Like one of the things that I am seeing that I love is signal-based selling. And so we used to just call it like account triggers, and then it was sort of called intent data, and its current manifestation is signal-based selling. And the reason that I love that is that when applied properly, it gets sellers to figure out how to reach the right person with the right message at the right time. And so I love being able to like use AI and use data to really specialize our messaging to make it feel very personalized to the individual. The people that are doing that best are really taking a signal that might be something like they just just raised a new round
Mhm,
or maybe made a big executive hire or they're new to their job or something like that. And they are creating a point of view, like they are connecting the dots to figure out why that signal matters in the context of the problems that their product or service solves.
mhm.
And I think that is some of the most compelling sales out there that right now that's driving like really meaningful, productive conversations between buyers and sellers.
Hmm. Mm, mm. I saw something about that. I think it was about a week ago. Tell me, and I'm gonna butcher this, but the personalized sales messaging. That's what you mentioned, right? Is that how you said
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
How is that being done? I mean, if we're selling to, we're reaching out to, hundreds of people a week or whatever. What are people doing to do that successfully?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think we have heard like the sales gurus, just in case anybody's listening, not watching, I used air quotes, bang the drum of personalization. Like every single message needs to be personalized and it is all contact level personalization. And then like some of it's like very weird personalization where I'm like, if you have spent the time to like creep on my personal Instagram before we talk, and your personalization is like, hey, like, how was that fish show that you went to in Denver in 2022? Anyways, our widget is like, that's such an immediate block for me. So I think like there is this spectrum of personalization being like overreaching and creepy
Hmm.
to personalization being professional but utterly meaningless. And that's when people often like use signal data incorrectly, where they're like, congrats on your Series A. Anyways, here's this completely unrelated email. That
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the fact that you raised funding. Or like what I see a lot, Rick, is people just like reading back the news. Like, hello, I saw that you're the founder at the Sales-Led Go-to-Market Agency. Hello, I saw that you wrote a book. And it's like, thank you so much for telling me. Like, I did not know that about myself. So I think that for almost all B2B sellers, that contact level personalization is a complete waste of time. Not only because it mostly gets used incorrectly, but I
Hmm.
just don't think that it is the best way to get a relevant message in
Hmm.
front of people. And I think like something that you and I were talking about last week was this idea of like personalization at scale.
Yeah.
How do you figure
Yeah.
out what that balance is between like quality, because we all want to be doing quality outreach that starts meaningful conversations, and quantity, because anybody that's been in the sales game for more than a couple of months knows that like it is still a numbers game no matter what they try to tell you. And so I think that the balance between quantity and quality and tapping into personalization at scale is making really small lists. Like in my book, I describe them as micro campaigns
Yeah.
where maybe you're only reaching out to 38 people, but all 38 people are, at organizations that are between 350 and 500 million in annual revenue. Like all of them are based in the US. All of them are like not just in healthcare, but specifically they're hospitals. Like all of those hospitals have between, like maybe 100 and 1,000 employees. And so you're stacking this firmographic data. So you have a pretty good view of the type of account. And then it's only one title that you're going after, because
Hmm.
please, please, please stop sending like IT executives like you, leaders in the sales space, such as yourself, because that's an immediate like spam, like mental spam filter flag.
Yeah.
So then like, you know what the account looks like. Maybe you're only reaching out to chief technology officers at those accounts. And then you can also figure out how to incorporate not a sale, a signal. And maybe it's like some new regulations just dropped that affect cybersecurity at regulated industries. And so now you have something that you can say to those 38 people that you're like, this is why I am sure a chief technology officer at this type of account would
Hmm.
care about this change in the
Hmm.
regulatory system. Now you have a whole story to tell that does not require you to be like, how was your vacation to Cabo last month?
I love that. I love that. That's smart. Micro campaigns. That's a smart approach. I love that. I love that. How do
Thanks.
you you describe, what I would call like an ICP, right? Ideal customer profile, essentially. How do companies, or how do sales, I guess it would be companies, how do they effectively create that? I've had the
Yeah.
conversation where it's just like, oh, well, go back over, last 5 customers you had, find out what's, unique or whatever about them. But how do you recommend, or what approach do you recommend when building that?
Yeah, I think it depends like what level of maturity the organization is at. I'm generally working with orgs that are at like the 30 to 50 million annual revenue price point, or
Yeah.
like annual, not price point, annual revenue marker,
Hmm.
which means they have a pretty good amount of data. So we can go through and say, here's the type of account that buys fastest. Here's the type of account that buys at the highest price points. Like, here's our strongest case studies. Let's build a list of lookalike accounts.
Hmm.
But I also understand that there's a lot of organizations who maybe have no customers, or maybe they're still like like tracking toward that like first 10 customers milestone. Where like even if you look at your other 8 customers, like that's not necessarily indicative of who your ideal prospect is. So I suggest that folks do a pivot,
Hmm.
and it's that you stop thinking of your ICP as one thing
Hmm.
and you start thinking about different ICP segments, because each of those segments is going to be ideal for a different reason.
Hmm.
And so it's a bit of a mindset shift against like what do we think is ideal? Who do we ideally want to sell to? And like what makes the outcomes we deliver ideal for these different segments of folks within our sales obtainable market. And
Mhm.
so I don't think of an ICP as like it's this one thing. I really think of how many different segments of ICPs exist within your territory, exist within your SOM, and you can figure out the unique reasons that each of them are ideal. And then that becomes the narrative for why you're reaching out in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you start to build your micro campaigns and that sort of thing. I love that.
Totally,
So
and
we
it's
talked
iterative,
about
right? Like,
hmm?
you start reaching out to those people, and then you realize, like, some of them are super responsive to the messaging, so you're like, "Oh, how can I build more ICP segments that look like this or have a similar narrative?" So that allows people to, continue to, like, grow and iterate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So we talked about messaging, we talked about creating micro campaigns. We're going to get to a point where we're actually going to start engaging with people on a more personal level. What is that what does that look like when we're going from emails to, perhaps phone calls, or what do you recommend, or what do you see?
Yeah, for B2B orgs, I recommend a minimum 3-channel approach. And so what I recommend is that folks really, really dial in phone and email and then figure out the appropriate social to add. So for my clients, like all of my clients right now, actually, it's LinkedIn. But like I've worked with people in the past where like Facebook has been a more appropriate social, or even like Twitter. Like Instagram, I've dabbled in a little bit, but it's like, whatever. Like figure out the social that your customers are already existing on. Don't try to fit
Hmm.
a, square peg, round hole, square peg, whatever one it is. And the reason that I'm so adamant about a 3-channel approach is that we are centering our customer in our outreach strategy. So it has nothing to do with where we want to reach out, or like I'm most comfortable on email, or like I love social selling. I don't care. It's what your customer wants. And so I talk about it in the book as channel of choice, which is like
Uh-huh.
which channel is your customer most comfortable having commercial conversations on. You need to make sure that you are doing at least 3 channels to optimize for finding them in the place where they are most willing to engage with you. So make sure that you dial in at least those 3, like, phone, email to start, figure out what your social is, and then add that. And then you can get more creative, like go in person, try direct mail, do events, and view those as an additional channel where
Hmm.
you're still making it like very strategic, like it's a part of your strategic, not just like some, one-off siloed event.
With LinkedIn, I'll say, behaving the way that it is. How are people really leveraging? How are people, like, effectively, salespeople in particular, effectively leveraging LinkedIn for B2B sales?
Yeah, social selling, which one of the biggest like pieces of pushback I get are people either saying, I don't want to post on LinkedIn, or my prospects don't post on LinkedIn. No problem. They don't need to for you to do social selling, because social selling is you reaching out directly via direct messages or via email
Hmm.
to get in front of your prospects. And there's some like great filters that you can use on LinkedIn to see if somebody has been active in the last 90 days. So you can
Yeah.
even, you can filter to make sure that you are spending your time and energy there on the people that are most likely to engage and see your message.
Hmm.
So don't get it stuck in your head that if your prospects aren't posting, or like if you don't want to post, that LinkedIn is not a good channel. That's nonsense. Like it is still another inbox to reach people in. If you can find the bandwidth to post, do. Like I get a tremendous amount of inbound leads from LinkedIn having a founder-led brand. It's great. You don't need to talk about your company. You can talk about the job that you do there, or like why you're excited, or how you helped somebody, or even like another professional passion you have. So it doesn't have to be like reposting your company posts. That's not helpful. But again, like even if you don't want to post, don't let that stop you from doing direct outreach through direct messages and through InMail on LinkedIn, like under the umbrella of social selling, not like social demand generation through content creation, because they're 2 different things.
It sounds like social selling is a strategy in and of itself. Is that how you work with your clients?
I do. Yeah, I definitely like, because I am adamant about taking a 3-channel approach, and I always am incorporating LinkedIn. We do social selling, like we make specific messages that are for the DMs and are for the in-mail. And I don't do like demand gen LinkedIn content creation stuff with my clients. So like I don't even teach that as part of like what I offer in my 9-step blueprint. It's great. It's wonderful. If you can do it, that's fine. But like, trust when I say you do not need to do that to get results from LinkedIn as a channel. So yeah, you're exactly right. Like, social selling is selling, which means it is outbound and direct to people. Whereas like creating content, that's a demand gen channel. And you are then waiting for people to see it and come inbound. And those are very different.
Interesting, interesting. Wow, that's cool. You mentioned a 9-step blueprint. You didn't tell me about that.
It's in the book. Buy the book.
It's in the book. Oh, was that kinda like lead in?
Well, so it's what I've been teaching my clients for ages. Like, it's so interesting because when I started writing this book, which was like years and years and years ago, and like you know how books go, right? Like, I was like writing it, and I was like, that's not quite it. Maybe I'll like write this. And what ultimately came out of this sort of like first draft of this book was more of like the type of playbook you would sell somewhere for like $249. And to me, it lacked a lot of the philosophy, the strategy, like the storytelling to really make it resonant. And what I have found over, like 15 years of leading people and now the last almost 4 years of having the privilege of going in and working with these teams is that if you are not a change management agent, like, it doesn't matter how good the techniques or the playbook is because people won't trust you and they won't do it.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so it's the 9-step blueprint is like what I was doing when I was a sales leader and what I am teaching my clients to do. And so it's like this blueprint that I built, and then the book forced me to like really lock it in and like name the steps, get a lot of clarity around it, which was
Mm,
incredible. But even then, I realized when writing the book that the blueprint works best when you pair the skill sets with mindsets. And so that's a lot of what I now teach and like what made me feel so called to like put the book in a form of knowledge in the world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That must have been quite the journey. My goodness. What was that like? I mean, you said you started the book years ago. I mean, what made you start the book? Or is it, just kind of it just coming together and you're just like, tell us
No, it
about this
was like,
journey.
yeah, it was really specific. I just wrapped a podcast with one of my mentors, this guy called Andy Paul, who's like a three-time best-selling author in his own right. And
Uh-huh.
at the time, the setup was on the opposite side of the room. And so you could see all of my bookshelves. And he said, I'm surprised that you haven't written a book yet. Cause I'm like, I'm obsessed with books. Like, I read voraciously. I host a monthly book club and I have for years. And I said, what would I write a book about? And he was like, that's insane, Leslie. Of course you should write a book. You have so much knowledge to put into the world. And I said, hasn't everything already been written about? Like,
Mm,
what do I have to add? And he was like, well, first of all, like, you have this 15, 20 years of like expertise and experience in this like very specific work that you can add, but beyond that nobody else has your lived experience and your point of view.
mm,
So even if you were just writing a book about cold calling, the way that you have cold called and led your teams to cold called and your philosophy about it, the mindset with which you approach it, like that unique point of view is still worth putting into the world. But where he really like called me because I pushed back and was like, I'm just not sure anybody would care about what I have to say. And he was like, okay, go to your books then, Leslie. Because I give a lot of hex about like supporting female authors and authors of color. Like my book club reads at least 50% books that are written by women, but that are written by BIPOC authors. Like it's something that I'm really passionate about. And he had me pull all of my business books off of my shelf and then hold up the ones that were not co-authored by a woman, but were like written by a woman. 3. You can only find 3 books. And it was this real moment of being like, I am not walking it like I talk it.
mm.
I need to consume more like business literature, that was like part of the genesis of the book club, was to like make sure that I was creating that accountability for myself and then like making space for other people to do it. But it also put the seed in my head, Rick, of like, there are almost no sales books written by women. The reason that I wasn't reading them is because women aren't writing sales books. That's not what is like really being put into the world. So it wasn't easily accessible and I wasn't like going above and beyond to find it. So that was like the longest possible way of telling you that the reason I ultimately decided to write a book is because I got called out.
Mm, that's bold though. I mean, this the rationale. I mean, you're walking in essentially new ground. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there
how does
are
it
like
make
a
you
lot of
feel?
incredible women that have written books. It's not like I'm the
Mhm.
first one to do it, but
Right,
like if you
right, of
pull
course.
up a list of like top sales books, it's like 9 white dudes and then like 1 other dude.
And I'm sure your intention is to be in that top 10. So I mean,
Damn right. That's
I know
right. You know
I
it.
know you put the energy into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Relentless pursuit of winning, get me in that top 10. I'm not good at sales because I'm a woman in sales. I'm good at
Mhm.
sales because I am good at sales.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you feel like you have any different perspectives than the current top 10 authors?
Yeah, I for sure do. But I think that their perspectives are really good. Like I've read all of those books and I've learned something from all of those books. So like I think it's really interesting that like as I've been on this like, like pre-launch media sprint is that I will sometimes have people ask me questions where they try to like pit me against other authors or like
Yeah,
other sales leaders like, "Oh, is your book better than theirs?" Dial it back, bud. Like take several seats. All of the books are interesting. And I think it is an opportunity for the reader to say, what can I take from this book that will help my customers? And so, like, even when people read my book, they're going to be like, ooh, that piece and that piece, like, so good. I can't wait to roll this out right away.
yeah,
That piece wouldn't really serve my prospects. Like that wouldn't really fit
right.
into my buying cycle. So I think it is a different perspective for sure because right, like it's mine and I'm the only one that has my perspective, but I do think in many ways it is like complementary to the work that so many other sales thought leaders, sales authors are doing, which is trying to put knowledge into the world that professionalizes sales, that like makes it, transforms it into a more respected profession.
That I like that. I like that. I love to when I read, I love to like kind of connect with the author, just really have that, that one-on-one sort of thinking, I guess you would say. You'd mentioned during our conversation, we talked a little bit about what you hated most about this process. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
The editing?
That
Like,
edit.
I know if my hair was down, I would pull on my hair. It's like I could just pull on these. The editing, it was it was such a crazy lift. I was talking to a friend, like a mentor earlier today, and he wrote a book years ago. He self-published and he really did the editorial lift himself. Like he did
Hmm.
not do the whole hybrid publishing where like they like, as part of the publishing package, he was getting developmental edits. And what I shared with you is that I don't I don't love the publisher that I chose, if we're being completely frank and honest, because I don't think that the quality of their developmental edits mirrors like the level of work, the caliber of work that I put into the world, which like to be
Hmm.
fair, fine. Like I am a bit of a perfectionist because I believe that's what people deserve from me. Like I believe that people deserve my best. And if they're going to take the time to read my book, like I think that they deserve my highest caliber work. And so the result is that I just sort of got to a point where I was like, if I want it done properly, I'm just going to have to do it myself. But what I was saying to my mentor earlier today is that upon reflection, I think the final book is actually considerably better than it would have been if they were exceptional developmental editors, because through reading it 5 more times,
Yeah,
like I added more depth. I was able to even like synthesize and clarify my thoughts more.
yeah.
So, I mean, be warned, like you might see a lot of commas in the wrong place because that is not my skill set, but
Okay.
the knowledge that's being delivered and the way every time I read it I was able to like, raise the bar a little bit on how I was disseminating that information to the reader. I feel really confident made a much stronger final product.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wouldn't want
I,
to do it again though.
You gonna?
I
You said you
will
wouldn't
write
or
a
you
book
would?
again, but I won't edit like this again. Absolutely not. I will not start with over 82,000 words. Will try to lock it down much earlier in the writing process and not just be rambling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I discovered I'm up to, page, like, 200 and something in my book, and I'm just like,
Oh, you
"Oh
went and
gosh,
looked.
this is gonna
Okay,
be
okay.
terrible."
Wait, did you do a word count though?
I I I did, I don't remember what it was. It's over 100,000 though.
And this is why I asked you about the word count. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy numbers.
yeah. It is, it is, it is, it is. I know I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna start cutting stuff. So I've made myself a commitment. I made myself, a template of what the editing process is gonna be like, and, I have a schedule. I'm gonna go through, like, 5 sections, like, every Sunday or something like that, so
Wait, you're going to
hopefully
be emailing me every Sunday to be like, Leslie, 100,000 words. Why? I
that's gonna be
will.
it.
Yes. Well, congrats. That's huge. Super excited to hear that. Because I know, like from what you shared, that you're putting a tremendous amount of yourself into this work.
Alright.
And so having that sort of structure to push yourself forward, because what it means is that you're going to have to cut stuff that's like your heart and soul that you put onto the page. And that's tough. So kudos on like building that like structure of accountability to like get the forward progress. You can put your work into the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So tell people when they'll be able to get your book, where it's going to be, and why they should buy it.
Yes, right now, you can go pre-order it at salesledgtm.com/book. And there are over $400 in freebies. So like make sure after you order it, you go put your confirmation code in so that you can get all of the free stuff. And if you happen to be in Montana, London, Tampa, or Chicago, I'm also doing live launch parties that you can come to for free. So
Cool.
come say hello in person. Anybody that is leading or aspires to lead a B2B sales team that is doing outbound should get this book in their hands, because one of the biggest questions that is like a circle the drain question for B2B sales leaders since before I even came one is, how do you personalize at scale? Or like, how do you balance quantity and quality? And that's what the book, and like, that is what the mindsets around like earning the right and how foundational trust is and how to build it with your team and with your executive leadership and with your buyers. And then once you have that trust, how to execute this nine-step blueprint so that you have a profit generating pipeline. So if you care about revenue and you care about trust and you are gonna outbound, the book is for you for sure.
Outstanding. 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 Thank you so much. Anything you want our audience to walk away with besides buy my book?
Yeah, right. Well, I wonder if there's anybody else that is listening that is also maybe like toying with the idea as to whether or not they should create content or they should write a book. So maybe I will use this opportunity to assure them that they should, that like your lived experience and your perspective is unique, which means that your voice matters. So do that. And I would also say that if you are outbounding and you're having a really hard time, you're not alone. Like outbound is really, really hard. I think it maybe is the hardest that it's ever been right now. Even with all of the tools and the tech stack and the AI and the knowledge, it is extraordinarily difficult to earn the attention of prospects right now. Like, I know you feel pressed and I know you feel stressed. Like you're not alone. And the good/bad news is that like to get over the hump of that, it does require you to some of the old ways of working and like the status quo and the comfort, and embrace some of these more like buyer-centric, customer-centric ways of working, but it's worth it.
Mm, mm, I agree. I agree. Wow. Somebody sent me that video with Alec Baldwin. They'll always be closing. I love that video.
One of my friends just did a it's this guy called Will Aitken who's super funny. He's just like this ridiculously tall British guy that lives in like the woods in Canada and makes great like hilarious content. And he
Uh-huh.
made some content with Clay, and they bought him an Eldorado. Like they bought him like the winner gets the Cadillac Eldorado, and they bought him one for the content. So I was FaceTiming with him like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, "You want to see my new car without context?" And I'm expecting like a new car.
Uh-huh.
No, it was this like old boat that the previous owner took like immaculate care of. I was like, that is so freaking funny. Okay, well, always be closing. You got the car. Who gets the set of knives?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Leslie, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait to see your book. Can't wait to see the picture in the book.
Thank you so much, Rick. I knew that this was just going to be like a joyful conversation. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, is that my absolute pleasure. Folks, thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. Keep winning.